It's been a very tough spring and we're facing into fertility on a lot of farms, and I just want to give my tips quickly on fertility. And I suppose I look at it from, if I'm planning for fertility or if I'm actually investigating fertility problem, I actually bring it right back to basics. I bring it back to the egg and the sperm in the oviduct. And I bring it back to that conception. I split it out and I'll try and explain in simple terms what I do. So you need, for conception, you need a healthy egg, you need a healthy sperm, and you need a healthy environment for the two of them to meet. Okay? And that's conception occurs, then you have a pregnancy, you have an embryo. When we talk about embryo loss, it's slightly different to what I'm talking about here, fertility. So just conception wise, what do we need? So if I'm looking at it and I'm planning ahead in the farm or I'm investigating, I split it down. Okay, we have a fertility problem in the farm. I'll split it down to the sperm, the male side, and I look at what's happening. Remembering that, is it bull or AI? So if it's a bull, the bull is an expert regards timing of heat. So really what you have to worry about with the bull is it libido issues with the bull? Is it fertility issues with the bull or bulls? Is there lameness issues? Remembering a bull takes 6 to 7 weeks if they stop working to produce new sperm. So is it numbers? And this is a big one. Have you enough numbers per cow? Particularly young versus old. Young bulls will work very hard, do a lot of work where they won't get a lot of cows and calf. The older bull will be a one-hit wonder more, knows what he's doing. So all these things, I look at the bull. If this is not an issue, I can park it up, particularly in suckler farms. If we're using AI, then really becomes about, I suppose, the timing of AI, that the sperm is getting in there when the egg is there at the right time. And so then you look at, back on the female side, heat detection. When you're using AI, you're increasing the genomic potential, but you're also, often it's not like the live sperm will come out of a bull, so you a slight reduction in fertility, and you want to make sure that, if you're using different straws, there's any correlation there. Then the handling of the semen is really important, but timing is key. So these are the theories I look at if there's a problem. In preparation equally so, I will look at bull numbers are correct, the bulls and fertility tested, that these guys are ready to go, they know their job, that their numbers are right. Again, around AI, that we have a heat detection plan on farm where it's automated or we have a timing, correct timing. So if that's areas sealed off, the next thing I'll look at is, particularly with individual cows, that's why we talk about problem cows that aren't cycling, the environment that the sperm and egg are meeting in, what can affect them, metritis or retained cleaning. So if you go back and you think about your cows that have had hard calvings, have retained cleanings, have been dirty, have those cows involuted and cleaned out their uteruses, that there's a clean environment or a nice environment for the sperm and egg to meet, do their business, and have that conception. So I'll think about problem cows from that point of view, and that's why we look at dairy cows using MetriCheck to check the uterine discharge, whether it's clear, whitey pale, or yellow, dirty, smelly. Do we need to take action to clean the environment of the problem cow to have it ready for conception? The next thing I'll move on to is in preparation, or if the case may be, if there's a problem, is the female side, the ovary. Okay, so the ovary, the egg. The ovaries will produce a healthy egg, we say every 21 days, but that can vary from 18 to 25 days, but generally around every 21 days. And how do we know that the cow has produced an egg? We always will have gone, heat detection, signs of heat, all the different signs, particularly standing, is an external sign that the cow is about to ovulate or has ovulated. And there's much debate around timing there. I'm not going to get into this one. So that is our external sign that heats occurred. If it's not, now there can be silent heats, but these are what we talk about a lot of times after calving. So most dairy cows will come back cycling 14 to 21 days after calving. Beef suckler cows will be a little bit slower because the prolactin that's released from the calf suckling will have a negative impact on the cow cycling. But cows not cycling before breeding are real problems. We need to get them scanned. Often when you scan them is you find out that these cows are usually cycling. We've missed them, that's most often, and it's good to know that, or there can be problems there and we can address it. So problem cows, and we can get these ladies back into the system. Conception, pregnancy, and profit. So, okay, because it's been an extremely hard year, one of the big issues this year the big challenge is going to be for us, and it is really working hard on these problem cows because the effect of negative energy on the ovary and ovulation. So when we talk about negative energy, we talk a lot about body condition score. When a cow calves down, whether a dairy or suckler cow, she has to raise a calf or produce enough milk, and it requires a huge amount of energy. So her metabolic metabolically she has to readjust over time. And if she loses a lot of body fat over that time between calving and breeding, which we see visibly as condition score loss, it can have a huge impact because of these the metabolites that are released will have negative impacts on the ovarian cycle, so she won't cycle. So if we have, particularly at herd level, if we have a lot of cows losing a lot of weight, we can have issues around that individual cows, and that's why in dairy cows we'll we'll go to once a day milking, possibly at times of stress and peak stress, to take the pressure off the cows at herd level. So something you need to be thinking about, that you might have more cows not cycling. This might be a factor, but it's part of the overall process. Then we have disease like infectious disease, BVD and lameness. We can vaccinate against them. We've herd controls, we've monitoring, and your own vet will be dealing with those type of things. We've diseases like lameness, both in the bull and the cow. Because lameness causes pain, cortisol release, it has a negative impact both on fertility and ovulation, so it can be a big one. And then we have minerals, often overblamed for fertility problems at herd level, but do need to be addressed because they can reduce fertility. Iodine, selenium, and sometimes in a lot of cases over the last couple of years, low phosphorus in some of our spring grazing dairy farms. So they're the external factors that you think about, and that's the way I always break down a fertility problem. That's how I prepare a herd for fertility. And we can talk about lots of KPIs. I don't want to get into too much detail, but there is certain KPIs, there's certain signals of the cows, there's production signs. If you look at body condition score, negative energy, one of the big ones here I look at is protein and fat in bulk milk samples and milk recordings. It can be very useful to build a profile there over the year. Disease screening, mineral bloods, forage analysis, grass analysis, whatever it might be. But ultimately what we're doing is building a picture, and you have to, because sometimes, I remember when I started to look at fertility problems first, in my head I was like, where do I start? And that's how, this is my system, it works for me, it might be for everybody. As I go back and I look at conception, I look at the egg and the sperm and the environment they're in. I split them back, and in preparation or in problems I do the same thing. I look at all the elements that require for healthy sperm, healthy eggs, and the environment. Ultimately looking for good conception rates, good pregnancy rates. Embryo loss is a different subject, and profit on the farm, healthy animals, and keeping that cycle going, reducing culling for fertility, keeping the cows in a herd, keeping performance going. It has been a tough year, I recognise it, there's a lot of issues. So the issues around body condition control, particularly because cows have been housed longer, lameness, but work it through. We'll get things back on track. Work with your vet or whoever's working with you on your fertility to maximize these and break it down. And this is just my system of breaking it down. This is what works for me. So the sperm and the egg, healthy sperm and egg in the right environment, conception and good results. And best to look for the breeding season for 2018.